Welcome to the WA podcast, where the goal is to motivate, inspire, and share success principles. I'm your host, George Almasri. I interviewed Ben Julius, who's the founder of Lionheart Development, and that's a land development company in Southern Ontario. He's the boots on the grounds guy and primary contact between planners, construction companies, and municipalities. And on this episode, we discuss his previous career as a professional basketball head coach, getting into real estate investments in 2017, land assembly, how he joins multiple parcels of land, how he rezoned a property from being 91 units to 132 units, and also creative furniture for bachelor units to maximize space. I think you guys are really going to appreciate the creativity behind his thoughts on some of his projects. If you're interested in land development, this is a great episode for you. So there you go. I hope you'll enjoy it. Make sure to leave us a review. I always ask for that. It would be greatly appreciated if you can let us know your thoughts on the podcast and support it by leaving a review. And just one last thing, we have a couple of cool opportunities in Hamilton. We've got a fourplex conversion that's currently for sale, and also a 2-unit property that we would be happy to discuss with you. Both of them are located in downtown Hamilton, so feel free to reach out to me if either of these projects seem interesting to you. You can go to welloff.ca and book a 15-minute call there. Thank you and enjoy the episode. This episode was brought to you by Mortgage Dawn with Go Pineapple. All right, I'm here with Ben. Ben, thanks for coming by. Appreciate having you here. We actually met probably a few times in the past, a couple golf tournaments. We had some social events, but I didn't even actually connect the two. Neither did you. This is who I was meeting with today. So anyway, thanks for coming by. I like to start off by asking about your childhood. So where you grew up, a couple things you remember.
So I grew up in Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Really?
So,
okay. First person, I think, ever on the podcast.
Not surprised.
Thunder Bay,
So lived there for about 18 years. My family was heavily involved in athletics. My father was the athletic director at Lakehead, and the women's basketball coach. So, everybody thinks hockey in Thunder Bay. We played high-level hockey for several years, my brothers and I, but we always gravitated towards basketball. And
really?
Kind of that's where our lives, both of my older brother and myself, our lives kind of went that direction for a long time. And Thunder Bay was a great place to grow up till you hit about 16.
Yeah.
And then, riding the bikes wasn't as cool anymore, and trying to do different things. It just wasn't a great town at that point. But other than that, we had a great time in our childhood growing up there for sure.
Yeah, now that you mentioned basketball, I remember we were talking about after the golf tournament when we were having dinner about Phil Jackson and all the rings, and you knew everything. So it was kind of surprising because most people wouldn't know all that information. So did you play a lot? Did you watch a lot of basketball?
Yeah, I played college basketball, and I also coached college basketball for about 15 years in its entirety. Spent 2 years Division I. With a program, and I also spent a year in the NBA with a program. So,
what does that mean?
So I worked as an intern with the players and the coaches for the Orlando Magic when they went to the finals. So that was a fun time.
That was like in 2010.
2008, 2009.
Okay.
That season.
So sorry, what were you doing with them at that point?
I was a gopher. So I would rebound for players during practice. I would, watch some film. I'd cut film, whatever the coaches needed. I would do whatever the coach's main assistant needed. I would do. It was an internship. Didn't pay me very much, but I loved every second of it. And until I left, and I think my visa was up, and I took off in about May. I think I left. So cool. I missed the playoffs, but it was a good time.
That's a pretty interesting story. I always wondered how do people get involved with rebounding for players, because I thought as a kid that would have been the perfect job if I could have gotten that.
Yeah, so during the games they had ball boys, special ball boys come out, but every day in practice it was the managers, the interns. We would literally sit there for hours and rebound, and some of the guys got really good at shooting. They were fantastic shooters, but they got really good at missing in the right spot to have me really start sprinting across the gym a bunch of times. So It was a really fun time. I learned a lot from the coaches. It was an invaluable experience that I wouldn't have traded for the $300 a month that I was making.
$300 a month. So that was Richard Lewis, Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
I forget who else. The point guard.
Jameer Nelson.
Yeah, Jameer Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh,
all
wow.
those guys. It was a
That's
good
so
time.
cool.
They were
good.
a really good team. They were a really close group, so it was really cool. I took a lot of learnings from that into my personal coaching when I was coaching college as a head coach, but also all those traits and skills have really transferred into real estate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Didn't they face the Lakers that year?
They did.
In the finals?
They did.
Yeah, and the
They
Lakers
lost.
won, yeah.
And
yeah.
Courtney Lee missed the tip in at the end of the game too. That probably would have put them, helped them get a little momentum.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. That's like my dream. Like as a kid, that would have been my dream to like just rebound or be involved somehow and be. Do you still have any aspirations to be involved in the NBA at some point, maybe as an owner or something like that?
It's funny you actually say that. I mean, I would love to own a team, a professional team in some way, shape, or form. My wife and I actually talked about it last night. As you know, you have these aspirations, these goals you want to eventually get to, and being part of an ownership group, I would love to do that. My brother, he's a general manager and the head coach in the CEBL, and he's coached professionally for the last 10 years of his life, and played for Team Canada. He played Division I, played college, or played at Guelph, came back, played at Guelph, end of his career there. But my dad coached for 30 years, went to 8 national championships. So basketball is really, I call it the heroin of athletics.
Yeah.
Was when I was coaching, it was really tough to get out of, because it's such a drug getting you back there. It's like kicking that addiction is not easy to do, and real estate's the only thing that really allowed me to take that love and apply it somewhere else and have that same competitive nature, the same type of goals that you want to do, and the passion kind of just was here, and I just took off.
Yeah. That's really cool. Division I basketball, so that was always part of your life. Athletics, I know you golfed as well. You said you've been golfing since you were 9 years old. So big sports family.
Yeah.
Now tell me about, you mentioned a little bit of this, how it kind of translated towards real estate. What was that journey like?
So in 2015, I was a head coach of a team out west, a college basketball team out west, and we were ranked top in the country, and I had a falling out with the administration. And I'm an intense guy, as people who know me know I'm pretty intense, and goes well with some people, doesn't go well with other people, which is fine. But we parted ways midway through the year, and I was really devastated. I was at rock bottom, I guess you can say, in some dark places in my mind, and moved home at 35 years old. I was living in my parents' basement, couldn't even afford a car, because in Canada we don't pay our coaches. So it wasn't like I walked away from a $100,000 a year job. I walked away literally from a $15,000 a year coaching job, and a $20,000 coach or teaching job, right, to kind of supplement things. So I had nothing.
Yeah, you're making, like, you can't even get by with that.
No, I was living off debt.
Yeah.
Right, which is never a good scenario. So I was pretty low. Came back and took a sales job, and the sales was always a background for me to finance my love, the drug of coaching. Right. So I would do sales jobs to supplement coaching. So I did that for a long time, and I'd always have, my numbers were great. My sales numbers were great in the summer, were, great around like December when there was no games, great in, from basically end of March on. But they were really not very good during basketball season. And it was always a struggle because I just didn't care. All I wanted to do was coach, focus on basketball, focus on getting to that championship ring, realm, whatever you want to call it. But I didn't have that anymore, so I didn't have really anything. And then one of my former employers, who I was assistant coach for, she helped me get into another coaching job and kind of started to go again. But in March, I met my wife.
2016.
March of 2016, I met my wife.
Okay.
And it's funny because I say this to people all the time. Everybody talks about a partner who supports you and does these things. And she found something inside of me that I didn't even know existed. She literally, I said this to a bunch of people, she literally grew flowers in the darkest part of my soul. And for that, I'll be ever grateful. She loved me when I had nothing. Right. So, now when we're moving through this process and we've gained assets, we went from nothing at 36 years old to having, $200 million under management in a development company in, 6-7 years, really 5 years, because we didn't get into real estate until 17. Right. So, but we've built a pretty strong life together. And, as you'll find out pretty soon, when you throw two in the mix, it's sometimes a little bit challenging at times. Yeah. But you got to work on getting back to you and coming back to center. But
two kids.
Yeah. You throw two boys in a mix, and it's a little bit gets a little bit dicey sometimes in terms of just getting through the day. Yeah. But no, I mean, the coaching, the ability to adjust, the ability to recognize not the best player, but the right player, has always been something that I've been really strong at doing. And that's because of my unconventional professional training in coaching. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I've taken that to real estate, and we've had to, move on we've had roadblocks on different projects that we've had to adjust on the fly. And I've been able to do that because I have the confidence to do that. Coaching has given me that confidence. And, work ethic, like, being an entrepreneur, it's very much like a coach. You have to show up every day. And everybody wants to talk about, motivation, showing up, being motivated to show up and doing that. It's not motivation, it's discipline. Motivation is nothing without discipline. If you don't have the discipline to get up and do what you want to do, or the discipline to not binge watch a show at night and go to bed at a decent hour so you can wake up and seize the day the next day, you're going to struggle.
Well, just on that note, just with the two kids now, let's just talk about morning routine, because I know before my son was born, I had a really, really good, consistent morning routine. I'd wake up around 5 or sometimes a little bit before, do all the stuff like the meditation, whatever I needed to do, then go to the gym. And I'm ready to go by like 9 a.m., ready to work. Everything was perfectly good. And now I'm just really struggling. Like, I have a 2-year-old. It's hard to get back into that. And I think I'm making excuses, really. Like, I need to just get back into it. But it's just sleep is different. Like, life is different. So do you have that same sort of experience?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, I went through ebbs and flows of struggling in the mornings. I've always liked getting up and going to work in the dark. I think, like, early in the morning, I think it gave me, my dad being a university basketball coach, he never ever pushed me to play any sports. Never ever pushed me to play basketball, but he said one thing to me that still sticks with me this day. It's that I was getting ready to go to a party. I think I was 15 or 16, and we're, all the boys are at the house. We're getting ready to go. As I'm leaving the door, he says, "Benny, just remember, somebody is in a gym getting better than you right now." And we were fortunate because my brother and I had keys to the gym. So I go to the party.
The university gym.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I go to the party, and I'm like, I shouldn't be here. It's like, go home, go to the gym, do a workout, whatever. But I like getting up in the morning, and getting out the door. I don't like, people have these meditation routines, and my meditation routine is getting out the door, getting my clothes on right away, getting out the door, going to Tim Hortons, getting my tea. That's my mental. I go right in, whether I come home and do work or I go to the office and do work. That's my Zen time. But I challenge people to abandon the morning routine and focus on the nighttime routine, because the morning routine doesn't work without the nighttime. And I've always, it goes hand, like for me, I relate everything back to coaching and basketball and whatnot, and it's allowed me to go, you can't have a good defensive philosophy if it doesn't flow into your offensive philosophy. Nighttime's your defense, right? It's your wound down time. I get prep for bed. I do these things. Morning's your offense. You got to get ready to rock and roll and go. So my defensive routine is that I need to be in bed before 10:30. If I'm not in bed before 10:30, there's no shot at me waking up before 6. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Throw a 2-year-old into the mix. I mean, our son didn't start sleeping through the night until he was almost 3, right? Almost 3. And then when you have 2, like, so my wife, she's on mat leave, but I would always, when the baby came, I would make sure that I got up with the toddler. My wife got up with the baby. So she wasn't getting up 3 times a night instead of just 2, right? So that was tough, right? And I'm sure, anybody, a colleague of ours, Kyle Ford, we always laugh that if anybody tells you that their toddler or their baby sleeps through the night, they're probably lying at some point, right?
Yeah.
So, but don't, I think right now there's a big shift going on in the world with social media and everybody saying, I meditate in the morning. I get up and I do this. I'm part of the 5 a.m. club. I have the 80-20 rule. I do these things. And those are all great concepts. But you got to find what works for you. And you can't be upset. Like, if working for you means I can't wake up at 5. I'll get up at 5:45. It'll take me 15 minutes to get going, and I'm starting my day at 6. Okay, that's fine. That works for you. And I think finding that balance is always a struggle. And it's always evolving. And you don't need to do it every morning. Everybody wants to get on the train of, I'm going to post myself working out at 5 a.m. or me at my computer at 5:30. Look at me. What? Who cares? Whatever your product is, that's what it should be. I took a lot of flack for wanting to score points and not really caring about defense when I was a coach. And it was, my defensive philosophy flows into my offensive. Put the ball in the basket. Get the deal done. Talk to who you need to talk to. Make sure those things happen. Go down your checklist, right? I don't really care how many points the other team is scoring as long as we're ahead on the scoreboard. That's all that matters. We had the year that we were the most successful, we had the highest point differential in the top 10 in the country because we scored 111 points a game, but we only allowed 94. Well, we also had the highest points per game scored and the highest points allowed. We created that many more possessions. So whatever you need to do in your daily life to create more opportunities is what you have to do. Don't worry about what the guy beside you is doing. If he wants to get up in the gym and go 5 a.m. and post and set up his phone so he can, picture. Like, I went to the gym this morning in Liberty Village because I had a meeting downtown. Yeah. So I got up early, beat traffic, and people they're taking more time setting up their phone so they could post on social media. Look at me, I'm working out. But why? Just work out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to really find intrinsically what will help you be better than you were yesterday. And that's why I love golf too, because you go out every day and you try to beat your score from the last time.
Oh man, golf is another story,
right? I'm a very corny guy, George, so I could relate everything to movies, sports, whatever. I got it. But your morning routine I don't think it's as important as your nighttime routine.
Yeah, for sure. Nighttime, I agree. And you talked about the consistency in the morning routine, and not every morning is going to be the same. I think that's especially true with kids.
Oh yeah,
because things happen. Sometimes kids get sick, whatever. You're going to be up at different hours of the night and whatnot. But just trying as much as possible to have that sort of consistency so that you can get the best results. So let's go back to 2017, because you said that's when you first got started in real estate.
Yeah.
So what was that like? You're a developer now. Did you start off that way, or what did you start off doing?
Duplexes, right?
Versions?
Our first purchase was a turnkey duplex. It wasn't turnkey, right? We had to do quite a bit of work to it. We eventually sold it, but 2017, I just got engaged in April of 2017. So I met my wife. We pretty much got engaged after a year of being with each other. And then we're driving along on the radio, and I was just I was stagnant. I was doing a sales job and coaching, and I wasn't happy. There was just something missing in my life. The coaching was, I was driving an hour to coach at an institution that didn't really care about athletics, and I just didn't feel like had any purpose.
That was here in Ontario?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we're driving on the radio. We heard something on the radio. We're driving along, heard something on the radio, and we went to an event, a 2-hour event. And I walked in there. I'm like, all right, we got to leave. This is an MLM scam. You know, somebody's going to sell us protein at the end of this, or makeup or whatever, right? So she said, my wife, bless her, she said, nope, we're staying. Sit your ass down. We're staying. Mm-hmm. So we stayed, and then after that, we signed up for a 3-day course because I've always been interested in real estate. Being in college athletics, you know how much your athletes are paying in rent. So if you have somewhat of a savvy brain, you can see how much somebody's making off these kids. Mm-hmm. So the whole goal was to have a couple student rentals, and then went to this course, this 3-day workshop, and then we joined a group. And that group really changed our lives. It helped us learn the power of leverage. Mm-hmm. Learn that there's other people out there who will give you money to succeed if they believe in you. Mm-hmm. And it was a really powerful tool for us. And then, we had, at our height, we had, I want to say, 7 properties, 14 doors.
Okay.
And then COVID hit, and we liquidated everything. And as we were liquidating everything, we transitioned from, duplexes all the way up to fourplexes, conversions, rebuilds, straight flips. And then we had a property in downtown Hamilton, well, not downtown Hamilton, but close to downtown, on King Street, on the LRT, that we were going to, add 13 units to. And then
was this like a tear down or?
Yeah. Well, it was a rebuild. We were going to knock it over by accident and rebuild because you didn't have to do site plan at the time. It was a whole gong show.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it ended up, there was a piece of land in the middle of it, or two parcels over, and we got that because we can put 60 units in there. And then this is how we got into development. Then we got the 2 in the middle, and development happened organically. I didn't go seeking development. And I think that's important because it was the natural progression of our business to get into development. Mm-hmm. Where some people go out there and they look straight for development, not knowing what development really is. It's not just buying a piece of land, putting up a building. How easy is that? Yeah, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. Margins are great on paper.
Yeah.
But it never works out like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like my cousin's a land developer, and I've had 1 or 2 others as well on the podcast and everybody that's in that space is changing the use or adding to the density or something, right? Like it's never like, oh, we just bought this piece of land and we're building on it. There's always something to be done.
Yeah, and right now it's such a confusing time in development, right? Developers aren't developing. The construction teams are sitting idle. Cost of construction has gone through the roof, 30% since mid 2022, right? So in just a year, it's
so what is it like? Is it the concrete?
Concrete's gone up 30%.
Yeah,
and it's really sidelining projects. Mm-hmm. The labor shortage hurts.
Yeah, why is there a labor shortage though?
So that's a whole other theory that I have. Yeah. But I think there's twofold. People can make a lot of money quickly online now, right? So they start doing these online businesses in university or high school, and they don't go down a trade.
Yeah.
Right. I know guys who are in the trades who have business, who worked the trade for 10 years, started their own business, and now in the winter, they're in Cabo for the whole winter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we weren't, when my generation was not taught that in school. we weren't taught that if you go into a plumbing trade, you have the opportunity. You're not just going to be a plumber your whole life. You have the opportunity to build wealth and a business. And I think between the 30, there's not a lot of people between 35 and 45 that are doing trades.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're starting to
compared to previous generations.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and all the immigrants, the Italians, the Greeks, the Croatians, who came over after World War II, they're all retiring. They were the trades.
Yeah.
So if we do not have robots start to do masonry work, to do, those type of jobs.
Well, they're 3D printing properties in some areas.
They are, but you still need to hang cabinets in those.
Yeah.
Right? You still need to do those things. If we don't have those people, this housing shortage isn't going to matter. It's just going to be I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think there's a couple of solutions you can look at. I think that our jail system, it could be more utilized. Incarcerated people, give them a trade, have them work while they're in jail, take them, put them on a job site, take them back afterwards. They can make money while they're in jail for their families.
Yeah.
You help society in such a better way. And obviously it's not just take a murderer and put him out there. There's obviously ways to do it.
That's actually a great idea.
Right.
I think that could really
think
work.
about how many incarcerated people are in the U.S. and Canada, and what our labor shortage is. And if I was locked up for 10 years, and somebody came to me and said you've had great behavior for 5, there's no way you're getting out of your 10-year sentence, whatever it may be. But if you become a mason, you get to go out every day and work.
And make some money for your family.
Yeah. And we'll teach you how to do that. And then when you get out, now you have an applicable skill, and you're going to be less likely to come back into prison.
Yeah. That's actually a really good idea. That is a major problem. I think
Totally.
It's so sad to think about people just kind of not having any freedom whatsoever in jail. I'm sure they would be happier too if they had that opportunity. But
Totally.
This is it's a topic, I guess, for another day.
Yeah. I can go down rabbit holes on a lot of stuff. I'm in my truck a lot, so my brain just
all right. So development. So that was one property, the Hamilton one. So you started buying a bunch of different parcels of land.
Yeah.
You joined them together. So that's called an assembly, right?
Yeah.
As you explained to me earlier. So what's going on with that project now?
So we had a hiccup with it. We purchased a building that was on the inventory list historically as part of the assembly. And we were told by our planners.
So was it a heritage building?
It was inventoried. So it was on a heritage watch list, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
So we were submitting our site plan to tear it down, and our whole goal was to preserve the facade and put it into our building at some point, like into the lobby, the front facade, give a nod to Old Hamilton. Because there is some nice masonry work. I'll be the first to say that there is some nice masonry work on the building, Victorian age. But we had a citizen, calls himself the Hamilton historian, wrote a letter to the city saying that this building the developers want to take it down. It needs to be preserved. So now we have to keep the building. So we have to redesign the whole building around keeping this building. So this was before Bill 23 came out, so we were doing it. We got 111 units, and we submitted for site plan, and then the LRT came back, and so we had to redo a 1.5 meter road widening when we were tearing stuff down, which it is what it is. So we had to go back another 6 months to do all that. Yeah, it's been a process. We've been told that our last submission is the one, so we should be having site plan approval any day now on that property, which we're really excited to move forward with that. So we ended up through this system called the Ori Living System. We were able to get 100 smaller units, but we have 300. Say we have a 400 square foot unit. It actually operates as a 700 square foot unit. It comes equipped with a home office, a bedroom, a living room, and a walk-in closet, all within 350 to 400 square feet, and they move. At a push of a button, it moves.
What do you mean it moves?
Like so here's your entertainment center. Okay, so your bed is right here.
Okay.
Right? You have a couch
I see what you're saying.
under your bed. Your bed, you hit a button, your bed goes up into the ceiling.
So you guys are furnishing it with all this technology.
Choosing the right mortgage product isn't always about the lowest interest rate. My name is Don Chen, mortgage agent with Pineapple Financial. And here are the two things you need to keep in mind. First, exit cost. Does your mortgage product incur a high penalty cost when you need to refinance or make any adjustments to your mortgage, or if you need to sell your property? Secondly, equity accessibility. If you need to access equity that has been built up, does your mortgage product allow you to do that freely and also in the most cost-effective manner? These two things will put the most amount of dollars in your pocket and help you get ready for your next real estate project. I would love to connect with you for all your mortgage-related questions. You can reach me at 647-961-3281, or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Mortgage Don.
Yes, the bachelors will be furnished like that, so we're able to get more. And we can give the city of Hamilton some affordability in the unit pricing, right? So, we can go smaller, but still make our performer work while giving a unit, I'm going to say giving a unit away because we have a cost on everything, right? But ultimately having a small space work as a big space that people can be proud of to live there.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool system. I encourage everybody to have a look at it. It's called the Ori system, OriLiving.com. They're really, we've formed a pretty strong partnership with them.
How do you spell Ori?
ORI.
ORI, okay.
Yeah. And a really good company out of New York. And it really, I took my construction team down there, architect and construction managers, and we went and checked it out. And we were like, oh my God, if you do not do this in your buildings, you are going to be behind the times. Mm-hmm. Because as we all know, we need densification in Canada. In every city in the world, people are moving to cities in droves. If we do not have density, the only way to get density in buildings is to have smaller units. Well, people don't want to live in a shoebox. Mm-hmm. But if you have smaller units that actually mirror and function as a bigger unit, you're good, right? Essentially, these are bachelor apartments that really feel like a one-bedroom, I would even say like a one-bedroom den, right? Because you have your bedroom, you have your living room, you have your office. Yeah. Right? So it's pretty cool.
So site plan approval, that's where you're at right now. Are you going to build it as well? So you're not just a land developer, but you're also a builder, or are you like working with a builder?
Yeah, no, I don't pour concrete. Right. Yeah. So,
but you have like the trades and
yes. So what we do is we hire a construction management team, and they take care of all that. Right. So they are CMs throughout the whole process. They do all the tendering. They make sure the project hits timelines. I don't. We're building it out. That's what we've told our investors as of right now. But when it comes to development, I think you always have to have exit strategies at every point. Yeah. Right. Like, we've just sold one pre-development, like pre-approval, right?
Before the site plan approval? Okay.
Yeah, we just sold one like that. It's into this due diligence period right now, but that's where we're at with that one. And then we purchased one as site plan approval, and we've also changed that through this system. We got, so the King Street one, we have 132 units, and the McNabb building that we have 140. I'm mistaken. 145 on King, 132 on McNabb.
So the King, is that the one with the bachelor units you were talking about?
Yeah, and same with the McNabb building. It's right at the GO station. It will have 88 bachelors, and the King will have 111 that operate with this system.
Wow. Cool. The King Street one is the one with the heritage sort of designation. Okay. So McNabb has 88 bachelors. Okay, let's talk about McNabb a little bit, because that's the one where you bought it with already at site plan approval?
Yeah, site plan approval, 10 stories, 91 units.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you didn't settle for that. So tell us what you did.
So we went back to the drawing board, and I think you talk about, you look at a piece of property and how can you make it better, right? What is going on? You have to use the term highest and best use. If you don't use that term when you're looking at something, what are you looking at it for, right? When I was coaching, I want the highest and best use out of my athletes. Yeah. If I had a great shooter who was also a good point guard, well, what is he better at, a shooter or a point guard? I'm going to use him as a shooter, right? But the highest and best use of that property is what you really want to strive for. So we looked at this and we're like, this design of these units is ridiculous. Like we had 1,200 square foot, 2 bedrooms. Well, you can do, like, what are you doing with that? You chop that into 2 units. Like why? All because of the way that they had designed the building. And the market at the time kind of supported that, which it doesn't anymore. As you talked about earlier, when you transition in the market, what's going to sell? Like, if you told me that I had a 1,100 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom condo in Hamilton, in order to make that feasible, you'd have to get $900,000 to $1 million for it. Nobody's buying a $900,000 condo in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you think you are. That's not flying. And if you run your performer off that, you're going to be in trouble. So what do people buy? Smaller units, right? That's what your performer needs to be based off of, the feasibility on that side. So we looked at the feasibility structure of everything, and the redesign is not finished, right? Like we're in right now. We've resubmit, we're in our resubmission phase to clear our conditions. However, every day I'm looking at ways to, improve the building.
Yeah. So you went from basically a 99 unit project
91.
to 91 units to 132, right?
Yeah.
So you added a big chunk of units there. And what's that going to do to your profitability or to your ROI or whatever metrics you're looking at?
So when we bought the building, we bought it at in 2022. Well, we were working off a performer that was done in January 2022.
Okay.
Right? Because that's when the discussion and negotiations started. That performer is no longer relevant. So we had to find ways to make it work. And this was one of the ways that I looked at, is increasing the unit count, because I'm going to get more. Our performer's going to, well, yeah, you're going to get more per square foot, but I can sell a 1-bedroom a lot easier. I can sell 2 1-bedrooms a lot easier than I can sell
a big 2-bedroom.
Big 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of the route that I took. I'm like, if I always try to put myself in the position of the buyer. So if I, like, at the end of the time frame, right? Like, would I spend $850,000 to $900,000 on a condo? Okay, maybe if I was downsizing from a $3 million home and I was 85 years old. Well,
and you really want to be in downtown Hamilton.
And you really want to be in downtown Hamilton, right?
Which is not common.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's gentrifying quite a bit, but we are right on the go. Like, literally, I can use my putter and I can hit the go bus stop. Right? So we have the train below the bus. We're right there. So we are. I'm like, well, who's going to be our market? There's going to be young professionals, young guys working in Toronto, and young couples who want to get out of the city and have a little bit more affordability in their life versus paying $3,000 a month rent for a 1-bedroom downtown Toronto. They can buy the same in Hamilton, right? And Hamilton's a cool little spot. It's becoming the restaurant scene there is becoming pretty eclectic and pretty cool. So it's a nice young hip spot, and that's our market, is the young professionals, the downsizers, the divorcee who doesn't want a full house, or those type of things, right? So they're not buying the 2 bedrooms. They're buying the 1. They're buying the bachelor that moves. I mean, nobody at first, when I got into this, I'm like, I don't want bachelors, because I wouldn't buy a bachelor. So I'm like, I don't want to put bachelors in the place. And then we checked out this system. I'm like, oh my God, I'd live here in a heartbeat. You don't want to make your bed anymore. You hit a button, gone.
Yeah.
When I talk to people, they're like, oh, it's a Murphy. I'm like, it's not a Murphy system. You don't do anything but press a button, and your whole living space transforms. So it's pretty cool.
So what does it transform into? Like a living room?
Yeah. So if you have your bed down, you get out of bed, you hit your button. Now you have it's a nice couch. Like, it's not like IKEA. It's gonna hurt when you sit on it. It's a nice, comfortable couch.
Yeah.
And it looks at your entertainment center, right? And let's say you have a meeting at 9, you're all out of bed at 8, you hit your button, bed goes up, you're watching the sports in the morning, so cool, whatever. Now you go hit the button on the entertainment center, and now that moves. That comes out and goes into a home office. It's all pre-built for a desk, a chair to slide in, and you don't have to move a chair out. It's in there. It's really a really cool system, and and then the biggest thing about having a bachelor is where are you gonna hang all your clothes? Well, this is a closet, and you can set it for how wide you want it to go, so it's wheelchair accessible, which is a really cool thing. You can put these at different heights, right? If you're super skinny, then you don't need that much room to get in and do your thing. Then you can have it go 1.5 to 2 feet wide, but you'll have a side over here, and then you'll have here, and it'll open up, and you'll have all your clothes there and whatever, and now all of a sudden you have space, storage, and an office, and a living room, right? Like that's
really cool.
Yeah. So
there's like a whole movement towards this. They're doing it all over the world, right? Yeah. Like in Japan and New York and wherever. Yeah. Because they're all living in these micro apartments and making things work with technology. So, that's a cool project. So those are both on the go. Yeah. There was the other one in Ancaster, a subdivision that you mentioned.
Yeah, that one is right now we're still in our process of zoning amendment. It has been sold, and it's in their due diligence period. So again, it's an exit strategy that we didn't think we were going to take. However, time period of that project is just kind of gone on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So we were able to give our investors a great return of about 40% in 2.5 years. So, and that's kind of what we target in all of these developments is when we have investors come in, we do GPLPs in all of them. So they buy equity in the LP, and we try to get them to a 18% return, 16 to 18% over annually. So an IRR on that, and a total return of 50% or 40%, and that's kind of what we go for. Yeah.
So just given the recent changes, every real estate investor, no matter what your field is, we've all had to make adjustments, right? And you've mentioned it like that, the McNabb building. So you didn't settle for the 91 units. You had to make the adjustments, split them into bachelors and all that. I'm guessing partly because of the changes in the market and whatnot. Yeah. How else have you had to adjust as a developer?
Well, so you always have to be conscious of what your construction costs are, because right now they're like a roller coaster. Some are starting to fizzle, like to kind of, I don't want to say plateau, but I want to say stabilize. We're hoping as a developer, with the interest rates with Bank of Canada, if they don't hike them again, I don't try to speculate on what they're going to do anymore. But we're hoping that starts to stabilize the construction industry. I know from that labor is becoming cheaper because people aren't developing because it's too difficult. So
a lot of layoffs, you think?
Yeah. So form workers, other types of industries are going after projects that they may not go after, or settling for a smaller price so they don't have to lay guys off. Because once you lay off a worker, they're gonna go find work somewhere else, and they may never come back. So you have a good guy, you don't want to lose them, right? So there's that's going on, and we've obviously pushed back our launch on the McNabb building several times because of what has gone on, right? And we are very fortunate that we haven't broken ground. I always say that like the King Street project has taken a very long time. We've had some major hiccups and major learning opportunities for us. But at the end of the day, in the big picture, it probably has helped us significantly because we didn't break ground within a year and a half of purchasing that project, right? Which we intended to do. And if we would have done that, we may have lost our shirt because our construction costs would have gone way through the roof. And our sellable square footage may have gone down. And what's happened a lot of times right now is that developers aren't developing because people are walking away from the pre-sales, right? I mean, if I lose my deposit of $25,000, that's a lot less than losing 200 grand in the
Yeah.
like
Well, they'd have to leave pretty early to only lose 25 because they usually
whatever the concept is. I just know that in Toronto, there's been a lot of people walk away from pre-sales. I don't know the number per se, but I just had a meeting this morning about how people have walked away, and that's why some.
Well, what can a developer do in that situation?
Nothing.
Like, I'm sure there would be a small claims court thing, or
But why would you go down that route?
yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you're suffering as a developer, but
The thing about doing that,
sense.
thing about doing that for 300 units.
Yeah.
If you have to do that 100 times, what's that cost benefit analysis gonna do for you?
So what would a developer do if a bunch of people are walking away? You think, like, what are the options? Just delay the project? Yeah, just hold and
then relaunch.
yeah, and then your ROI is going to be impacted, but you have no other choice.
You're not. You may lose money on the value of the land or your carrying costs, but you're not losing money on the construction. If construction hasn't started, you can still recoup all those costs in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Right. I know with what's happened a lot right now, Bill 23 is people gone back to the drawing table, and they've submitted for more density. It's discussions that we have on our team every day. Like, do we press pause and say, why aren't I getting? We're on the transit line on both of these projects.
Yeah.
Why aren't we getting 30 stories? Are you saying because of a shadow of a neighboring backyard that probably won't be there in 20 years or in 15 years? You're going to hinder my development because of that, and you're going to take away density in an area that needs it.
Yeah.
So those are the questions.
Would that be a zoning amendment in that case? Yeah, which has to go through like multiple levels, right? And that takes quite a bit of time, doesn't it?
But we have always said, and if I was starting out development right now, the biggest advice I'd give to people would be get your plan airtight, submit it once. The city comes back, whatever municipality, they come back to you, rejig, try to make the comments that what they want, submit it again, and when they come back a third time or second time, you go to OLT.
Yeah.
Say, we tried to work with you.
What's LT?
OLT is
OLT?
the Ontario Land Tribunal. So
Okay.
it was LPAT before, but it's the Ontario Land Tribunal. So now it bypasses the municipality, and it goes to the government, the provincial government, and off the provincial mandates, does this hit the criteria?
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, it does. Like Hamilton has gone. I think there was an article in the Toronto or the Hamilton Spectator that they went 176 times and lost every time, or they lost 95% of the cases. And when I'm speaking with a land use lawyer, realistically, the losing team has to pay all legal fees. So that would have cost the city like $26 million.
How long would it take you to get there, though?
To get where? To the OLT?
Yeah.
6 to 8 months.
That's it?
Which is less than what it takes right now with municipalities.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we did a really small scale thing. We're just converting a single family to a fourplex, and every time we submit drawings, it takes them like a month to get back to comments from them, and we address the comments. Then they notice something else that wasn't in the previous documentation that we had sent. So it just kept going back and forth, and just huge delays for no reason.
That's the housing crisis.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, right? Everybody talks about foreign buyers, people here. It's not that. It's the fact that we cannot convert a single family home to a 4-unit rental in a timely manner.
Yeah. But do you think that'll change?
No.
Like in the next couple of years? It doesn't seem like it.
I have my opinions politically on it, but I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah.
I think that, we talk about affordable housing and it's a problem. How are we going to do affordable housing when the cost of construction is so high that unless the government chips in and says, we're going to pay for half your construction, give us affordable housing, we're good. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Are there any programs for affordable housing?
I'm
sure there
are.
But
there's grants and there's stuff, but they don't
justify
they don't cover
doing it, right?
They
Yeah.
don't cover it, right? And it's at the end of the day, it's the project entirely, and the grants really go towards what is affordable in that space, not the whole process, right? And everybody wants to talk about CMHC financing and 90% loan to value and the golden nugget of 2.5 to 3% or minus prime, whatever they say. I don't know anybody who's got that. And if they do get it, they haven't. If they've been approved for it, they haven't got the financing.
You're talking
yet.
about a larger apartment building that's newly built, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really hear too much about that.
Well,
About new apartment buildings coming up that are.
you don't hear a lot about CMHC actually coming through with the financing.
You hear a lot about it smaller apartment buildings, or even I guess
people are doing it. People are doing the MLI Select.
Yeah.
But they're actually not getting the financing. And where people run into problems is when they run their numbers based off of, I'm going to exit this project by a refinance with CMHC at 90% loan to value.
And that's the only exit strategy.
And that's your exit strategy,
Yeah.
right? You know?
That's why you mentioned it before. There's got to be multiple exit strategies, especially at a time like this when things are changing. You got to be ready. Okay, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. If that happens, that's what we're going to do.
I've always believed in a term that I don't know if a lot of people have heard it or use it, but in business, in real estate, in athletics, and coaching, there's one thing that sticks common, and it's addition by subtraction. You know, what is that? Well, it's when you get rid of something to get better, right? In athletics, and maybe you may get rid of your lead in basketball. You may get rid of your leading scorer, but you got better because he wasn't fitting the mold, right?
Yeah.
In real estate, for me, it's I may get rid of some properties because they don't fit where I'm going, and they're energy takers, not energy givers, right? So addition by subtraction is a huge thing that my business is built on. Again, not the right players. Sorry, it's not the best players, but the right players. You know, you may have to get rid of a deal to better your situation so that you can become better tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Get rid of something today that helps you get back to net zero to get better tomorrow. And that's kind of the way that you have to look at things.
Yeah.
And if an exit opportunity comes up, you owe yourself, but more importantly, you owe your investors to have a look at it.
For sure.
Right?
And also, how do people reach you and get in touch?
Yeah, so if you want to reach me, you can check out my website at lionheartdevelopment.co. And on Instagram, Coach Ben Julius, LinkedIn, Ben Julius. So those are ways you can reach out to me and chat. I'm always open for a discussion. We do have some investment opportunities in these development projects that are available. So if you want to chat about those, just reach out. In terms of message, I think it's important to understand that it's never as good as it seems, but it's never as bad as it seems either. Real estate's a lonely profession. Being an entrepreneur is a lonely profession. Don't think that you're the only one going through struggles. When you look at social media and people's accounts, and they only post the good stuff. Nobody posts the bad stuff. So be aware of that, but also just try to be better than yourself yesterday, right? Be better today than you were yesterday, and you will find yourself very successful very soon.
That's the summary of the game of golf, right?
That's it, man. That's it. That's why I love it.
Yeah.
That's why I love it.
100%. Well, Ben, I appreciate you coming by and sharing your story and your journey. And I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
For sure. Appreciate it. Thanks, George, for having me on.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Well Off Podcast. If you enjoy the show, then I'd really appreciate if you left us a review on iTunes and let us know your thoughts. In order for us to get a larger audience, it's really important to have reviews, so your support is extremely appreciated. And also, don't forget to share the podcast with your friends and family. Until next time, I'm George Almasri. Have a great day.